everyone has agency. And I want to push back on something. I want to push back on the idea that everyone is you pushed out. In some circles of self-help manifesting in other places, there's this concept that everyone is you pushed out, but I call bullshit on that. And I don't mind the idea of thinking of yourself as building your own destiny. I don't mind the idea of even you pursuing your own reality. The real question is, how does that manifest itself? Right? So this idea that everyone else is you pushed out, that you are bringing your own misfortune on you, or you are bringing your own good luck, it's backwards thinking. It's not wrong in certain ways, but at the end of the day, this idea that no one else has agency because you're your own reality generator, you are God, you are all of this stuff, it's a lot of bullshit. We live in a world, in a reality where everyone has their own agency, everyone has their own brain, and everyone has their own model. And their model is running, and your model is running. And so when you are manifesting or pushing out or doing these things, the Neville Goddard things, the other manifesting things, some of them good, some of them bad, some of the self-help, some of the self-concept work, a lot of it is really good. The work that we're doing in You Are Not the Model, clearly self-concept work. The question is, how do you think of that work? How do you think of yourself? And do you think that by having good or bad thoughts, you're somehow creating reality around you? No. You have a reality field. It is part of you. It is something that your brain is processing back and forth. Your model is feeding it. And when I say your model, if you don't understand what You Are Not the Model is, your model is the perception that you have of reality. It is what is in between you, your core being, the person that is you, your identity, and reality, right? So there's a model that's always going back and forth that is feeding you things and taking things from the world, bringing it into your brain, processing it, your brain is processing it, similar to AI models. That's the analogy that I use. The way that you would ask an AI model something and then it would process it, bring it back, and it would use its training data. You have your own training data, and internally, that training data is always firing, and things are weighted. So when you're doing self-concept work, you're reweighting, you are revaluing different parts of your concept, you're revaluing different parts of your being, you're thinking about the training data, which is your memories, the things that you can remember, and even things that you can't remember. And you're pulling that back, you're stripping that away, and you are, in a sense, creating your own reality, right? Because what you're doing is you're training your model, you're updating your model of reality to understand the world differently. That does not mean that you're all of a sudden magically creating misfortune for yourself or vice versa. There are lots of ways to be misfortunate, and having a bad self-concept is a great way to do that, right? So don't get me wrong. If you are walking around believing the world is going to end, you're going to find lots of reasons that the world is going to end, and vice versa. If you are walking around saying, people like me are this, people like me do that, you'll find a lot of things to reinforce that. So if you want to change your self-concept, if you want to change your model, if you want to change the part of you that is interacting with the world, you should do that. But you should not for a second believe that somehow because you are thinking bad thoughts or thinking good thoughts, good things and bad things are happening from other people because it's your reality. It is not your reality. It is a shared reality. We all live in this world, for better or for worse. There are lots of ways to go on that quantum, and I'm not going to go there in this video. I am going to say that the model between you and reality that shapes your perception, that shapes your understanding of the world, started long before you had an understanding of the world and the perception of the world. Because the one thing I do agree with much of the manifesting and a lot of the thought is you are a being. People call it awareness. Some people like to think it's God or whatever. It doesn't matter. There's a core being, is what I call it, inside of you that is observing what the model does and is able to control the model. And the model is that part of you that's your hardened identity. So, when someone like Neville Goddard says, the bridge of incidence will solidify things into fact, or into being, right? That's part of it, right? Because you are breaking your self-concept. You're changing it. You are pushing out an idea of reality. And if you do it right, the choices that you make, the way you think about yourself will change. And the people around you will respond to that. And believe it or not, you may or may not be able to influence happenstance. There may be things that seem unbelievable that happen to you that push you there. So I'm not going to say that there is absolutely no reason to think that you cannot influence reality in some way, but believing that you are the sole cause of reality is a fallacy. So I want to push back on that. You are not the model. You are the being behind the model. Adjust your model. Adjust your weights. Adjust the prompts that you feed yourself. Understand what happens in between that model processing and your action. Take better action. Build your self-concept. Build your inner model to a place that you feel comfortable in your skin. You feel comfortable in your life. You feel comfortable. You feel like the new person, like the new being that you totally could be, right? Because we are always becoming. We're always becoming something else, and we need to be intentional about that. We need to be able to say, yes, this is me. This is who I am. And not, people like me always do this. People like me always do that, right? No. Push that away. Push away those negative thoughts. It's not to say that they won't come. It is only to say that you will be better trained to understand how they come and how they go. And in between them, you can catch them and release them into the wild and change your subject. Change the way your model completes that output, right? Inject a new prompt. Train yourself like we train an AI model. You are not the model. So go notice something. Change your inputs, change your outputs, change your life.